Southeast Missouri head coach Andy Sawyers, 7th year with the Red Hawks, picked the preseason favorites, have won the last 2 OVC tournament championships. So, Coach, just some general thoughts on coming into this season.
I mean, certainly, the preseason stuff, that's based on what your club did a year ago. And we try to remind our players that we were picked to win the league because of what last year's team did. And last year's team did some awesome stuff, but that's not a guarantee that we're going to be, as good or do the same things. And so kind of that's been our focus, is not to rest on what our last 2 clubs have done. I don't think we're probably as talented as we were a year ago. We lost some, significant star power. Andrew Keck, 10th round draft pick with the Braves. Tyler Wilbur left as one of the most decorated hitters in the history of SEMO baseball. You just don't replace 6'3", 220 pounds that easily. But I do like our team a lot. I think we've got better depth. We have more usable pieces. There's greater competition for playing time. All those things coaches like. And it's been a very tight-knit, fun, competitive group. They have been, a joy to coach. It's just, we're a week away from them needing to go out there and prove that this year's version of the Red Hawks can go get it done in games.
Yeah, I know the preseason poll, obviously, it really means nothing besides for us to make some social media graphics and create some news. But, going in, you do getting picked first obviously shows what the success you've had. So, now that you've been one of the top teams the last couple of years, maybe the target move from you not being near the top to the top, how has that changed anything that you do, with your program now that there is that target maybe?
I mean, really nothing, except just it's a different message to the players, right? Like, we understand that we're going to get everybody's best shot just because of what previous teams have done. But in terms of how we recruit or how we go about it or how we want to, play the game, certainly none of that stuff is changing.
Something that did change is the OVC and the makeup, some new teams. So just what are your general thoughts about the rest of the league with a lot of newness going on?
I mean, obviously, certainly with the D2 schools moving to Division I, haven't competed against them, so not super familiar with their club. So obviously, you like to be familiar with who you're playing, So like, there's a level of unfamiliarity there. But I haven't played against Little Rock for a long time, and not sure about that. So I think it's exciting for the league to have new destinations and new teams to compete against, but also as a coach, there's always a little bit of fear of the unknown, right? Like, not been in those parks, right? So the standard OVC, wind blowing out, lots of home runs. I do know Lindenwood, just because we recruit up there all the time. There's a lot of games on their campus. It's not the standard OVC ballpark. It's a bigger ballpark, and the wind blows in when it warms up. So that's not, OVC profile. So just, obviously, anytime you get different things, different teams to compete against, different styles, it'll take a little bit for us to get a handle on the kind of game we're going to play in those ballparks and against those teams.
You mentioned some of the things you liked about your team, but if you had to say what's one strength, if you had those things you mentioned, what is this year's team strength?
I think we're going to be very good offensively. We return, 6 of the 9 starters or 7 of the 9, depending on the lineup configuration, from the team that won the league a year ago. So I think that, obviously we've got very good depth and a lot of returners who have been on the field for not just 1 championship, but 2 for back-to-back years. So we've got guys that have played winning baseball and know what it takes to win. So that's I think a very good strength. Last year, the strength of our pitching staff was the bullpen. I know there's going to be some different names in that because we graduated a couple guys from that team a year ago that were huge fixtures in our bullpen. But I think the bullpen should be a strength again this year. And so, it's kind of, that's what our recipe was a year ago, was a good offense and a really good bullpen. That probably is going to have a similar feel this year as well.
That leads perfectly into Kyle Miller was one of the people on the preseason team, all OVC last year. Very versatile is a word I'd use too. How have you used him to, like, in different spots as opposed to just a traditional closer? I know you've put him all over the place, and just what has he brought to your pitching staff?
I mean, outside of Dylan Dodd, who was the highest draft pick in school history in 2021, he's been arguably the best pitcher in our program for 2 years. I mean, he's an amazing story. Came in as a true walk-on, not guaranteed anything but an opportunity. He got a strike out the side save in his very first college game 1 of the season. He strikes out the side at South Alabama to get a save. He bookends that with a 9-inning complete game in the OVC championship game to beat Murray State to get us to a regional. So he's certainly had success in a variety of roles. He's not a traditional 1 inning closer. He's a little bit of a unique guy. It's a high spin fastball, and he lives up in the zone, and he's good at that. But he's not just a 1 inning guy. He went 6 shutout innings at Dallas Baptist, ranked at the time, to get the win on opening day last year. He's a guy that we just don't put in the game for 1 inning. It's leverage situation. He's our best guy. Let's get him in the game and go win. And so he's been very good for 2 years. He has started and relieved, but mainly as the closer. We are continuing to look at him as a starter as well. We still don't have our rotation set for opening weekend, even though it's only a week from today. And that's where we were a year ago. Our starting rotation was in flux pretty much all the way through the start of conference last year. And I feel it's going to be the same way. We've got some guys returning from injury. Colin Wilma has been a great pitcher for us, but hasn't been healthy for a couple of years. Noah Nisnik has had a really good fall and early spring. He's a guy that was a starter throughout his history. Junior college transfer Peyton Lawrence has been good. You've got Kyle Miller, who's good. We have a transfer from Lindenwood, Logan Caton. He's been fantastic. We've got probably 5 guys who have pitched well enough to start. And so for us, it's about finding the right combination of starters, which will allow us to keep the bullpen stocked and good. And so I think you're going to see movement throughout the rotation for the first month of the season. We have 5 series before conference play starts. I think it's very conceivable you're going to see a lot of different combinations as we work to find the best fit for us.
And that can be an opportunity, right? Like, instead of just preconceived notions of who the best 3 are, they can prove it in those early games.
Oh yeah. And we're working on travel right now for opening weekend. We're going to take 32 with us down to Central Arc. And that's higher than, we only travel 27. That's a, conference rule. We have a hard time picking it right now. There's our depth is better than it's ever been. Now, there's not going to be a Dylan Dodd. I don't have a 3rd rounder conference pitcher of the year right now that is standing out at me, but we've got more usable pieces. So if you think of a normal conference weekend, you travel 27, it's 15 position players, 12 pitchers. We literally have numbers 10 through 18 are better than they've ever been at SEMO. And so getting those combinations, is this a 1-inning guy? Is he a 2-inning guy? Is he a guy that comes in and faces 3 hitters, 2 of them are left-handed? Is it a ground ball guy? So we've got these pieces that I like that we need to figure out how to use them together. And that's kind of what the strength of our team last year was, how we handled, Hunter Rawls, Blake Cisneros, Austin Williams, and Kyle Miller. Was we were able to use those guys, and the matchups we're able to create with them was probably the strength of our pitching staff.
Let's end talking about your schedule then. You referenced opening weekend, but those non-conference games that we're going to see this year.
Yeah, we've got a couple trips south. I don't know if Conway, Arkansas is too far south. We open up at Central Arc, go to Abilene Christian after that, and then we've got 3 weeks at home with Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Butler, Western Illinois before conference play starts. Then our non-conference bye late in the year, we go to Manhattan, Kansas to play Kansas State. Go to Arkansas for a Tuesday. Standard stuff for us with the usual suspects on Tuesdays. But that's what the non-conference weekends look like.
Well, Coach, appreciate your time this morning, and best of luck to the Red Hawks this upcoming season.
Thanks a lot.